And the reason the amount of regrowth is so detrimental is that you don't want to get banding. I feel like even if she came in 1 week prior to this, it would be like absolutely perfect. But any longer than this, and we would have to apply away from the scalp, come back in and apply to the scalp, just to make sure that we get rid of any of that depth or darkness that we could get in that mid shaft area. 1/2 of an inch is the most you can go without having to do the double application. We could just go in, apply from the roots to the line of demarcation. But trust me, it is like something to be respected and to be very careful. And the overlapping is something that you really want to be really cautious of. So we're going to take you through step by step all of the things that you need to look out for and that you need to consider when doing a bleach retouch, okay? Because it is a delicate thing. And if you master it, you will have a million blondes lining up around the block to come into you to get the retouch done. So let's get her robed up. I'm gonna mix her Blondeur Plex with 20 volume. We don't need to go above 20 volume because even though her roots look very dark, trust me, with the heat of the scalp and only at the scalp, 20 volume is more than enough to lift even some of the darkest levels. So we're gonna mix 20 volume, 1 part powder to 2 parts lightener. So if you're going to veer on one side or the other, I would rather it be a little bit of a thicker formulation than thinner, because we don't want anything to drag down or bleed or overlap. So at the back, I've just divided that. It's just a center part all the way down, and then it's basically going to be 4 quadrants. So usually and typically the back is a little bit darker and deeper, so we want to make sure that we apply that first and that it sits on the longest. So at the parietal, I'm able to kind of apply this, push it all backwards, and then work up through this section here and have it just be really nice and clean and neat. And you can see, actually, if you really look right here, her hair doesn't even have as much root. So it grows slower, it's finer hair right here, just these little babies right there. And also you're able to rinse the back and rinse systematically, like I said, in the same order that you applied, and then wait for those roots at the front to be done. So I apply the product and I make sure that it's a really good amount on the root and then to the line of demarcation. Adding tension to the hair really helps you to spread out that hair to make sure that you're getting a very like even saturation, because the hair is like hitting evenly. And if those little hairs want to kind of jump up into your brush, you can turn your brush vertically to just help glue them down and keep them from lifting. And I'm going to continue this process here through the nape, opening up my section, tapping down just slightly, grabbing my product, keeping things nice and clean, and apply up to the line of demarcation, apply down. If you have someone that you really trust and have trained to do bleach retouches with you, applying at the same time is great, because then you get the timing down and you're able to really just work through it. Just take one more little section from this to make sure everything's nice and clean and there's no lightener where we don't want it. Holding the hair with tension will always help you. And right here, wanted to grab one hair, just clean it off and move on. You're like tapping and then I'm pulling away, tapping and then pulling away, coming in the opposite way to make sure we're covering all of that area. But then when you're just used to jamming through, and you're making all these minor adjustments for this hair, that hair, oh, it grabbed onto my brush, wait, lift it away, try applying it a different way. You're gonna just automatically adjust yourself to what you know works and is gonna keep it clean so that you can get it on quicker and more efficiently, but like really with that perfection. I'm gonna do the same on the other side, continuing on just like I said. And there are some tricks for the front we definitely need to touch on. So making sure that I get a good amount of product there. Keep this up and out of the way, round her ear and dropping down. and applying, if you guys can see that. And we're almost to the point where we can just start dropping down the sections, but see right when it hits her ear is where we need to kind of bring that over. This looks like I can drop this section down because I don't want there to be any overlapping, but that section there, I can just bring back. You don't have to be paper fine sections and so worried about the overlapping and all of the things, but obviously with gray coverage, saturation is still extremely important as you place the hair down. So I'll take my section and then I'm kind of just like using my fingers to keep it nice and even as I drag it down so that when it drops, it's nice and even. But because Wella doesn't overlap or doesn't expand that much, I can actually go really close to that line of demarcation, whereas with some of your lighteners, you're gonna wanna leave a little more space right here and then go back through and touch it up in your cross check, because it's some lightener swells more than others just by nature, right? As it oxidizes. That way I can move over to the other side, do the same thing around the ear, work my way up the top, and then we'll see you back for that front hairline. So you don't really want to just do this and then let it sit and go do another haircut. I'm just coming down a little bit, making sure that all those little tiny babies are nowhere to be seen, and she just looks like a natural blonde with her cool eyebrows. I'm gonna just hit that other side, and then I'll let you see what we do when we let her process. So now that she is all cross-checked, meaning I did not drag my tail comb down on her scalp, I just loosely lifted out areas in the exact opposite way. So if I applied it horizontal, I'm cross-checking vertically, looking at that mid area where you could potentially get a band, making sure you're loading up the product but not overlapping. If there's anything overlapped, you're kind of removing it from any of those areas as meticulously as you can through this entire thing while it's processing. We don't want to push it, because remember, we don't want to push any of the hairs on top of anything else, right? And just place the foil all the way around for maximum lift. Boom. Let's let her chill, and we'll be back to show you what it looks like in the raw. So we definitely had to neutralize out those bond builders and the activation of the lightener. But I do want a little bit of root depth, so I am gonna tone her with 9-stroke 1/6, so it's a nice ashy color and a little bit deeper, but when it fades, it's gonna fade to just white, right? So she's just gonna have this beautiful even platinum all the way throughout, but we're gonna apply it to her roots first, starting here in the back, working our way forward, but applying a solid color, since you just watched it already, is kind of like watching paint dry. And I'm gonna apply to her root. At the last couple minutes, draw through her ends, rinse, and she'll be good to go. Full processing time is pretty good to do, because I feel like you get that predictable end result with the tonality and the color that you want. When it comes to platinum though, gauging it and using your intuition is really, really wise, because you want to make sure that you're really attuned to exactly what's happening in the hair, and just looking at it, making sure that it's grabbing exactly the way you want it to, and you just want to make sure that you're getting those predictable results. That being said, look at how deep it looks. This was a 9-stroke 1/6, so we have a level 9, which is slightly deeper, but really it's gonna be platinum. So at a level 9, and then it's a gray-based violet. So you're gonna really see that as it oxidizes. And then when you wash it out, it'll appear like a little bit of a shadow, and then you dry it up and it's like, boom. So really, really hone in on all of the things that will help you to prevent from overlapping. Keep your saturation really heavy and good. Cross-check as many times as you need to. Take it off of hairs that it doesn't belong on. Add it on areas that it needs to be on. Rinse areas first if you have to. When you're applying the toner, maybe start in the areas that are the deepest first, and then work your way to those brighter, more porous areas, and even rinse in the same fashion. So rinse where you feel like it needs rinsed first, and then work your way to where to rinsing the other areas that need it last.